let's start by getting a quick summary of the main concept of your book.
Well, one of the theoretical concepts that's in my book that I try to explain is this idea that hierarchy in society, that there's a driving force towards more hierarchy, more control, more dominance, and that there are strong forces in that direction. And part of the reason for that, and I think I was one of the first to explain that, probably the first to explain this particular mechanism, part of the reason is that oppression is, science is discovering, medical science is discovering that oppression is the main cause of ill health of the individual. So the oppression that you suffer in a dominance hierarchy is the thing that's going to reduce your livelihood and your longevity, and it's going to make you sick, basically. And that includes, it's been shown to directly affect your immune system. The stress from oppression directly affects your immune system, which in turn makes you susceptible to cancers, heart disease, the big killers, okay? So that is the big discovery of medical science of the last decade or so. And this makes sense because this explains, in a sense, gives a positive feedback to reinforce hierarchy. Because if hierarchy, see, the only force that can oppose a hierarchical system of domination is the individual. The individual drive to be themselves, to want influence in the community, to their creative drive, basically. That's the only thing that can oppose those forces. And if you're being made sick by the oppression, you're less able to make that resistance, if you like.
And when we talk about oppression, it doesn't necessarily mean, you're in a concentration camp. It means millions of little barriers specifically in place to keep you, on the path.
Well, they're big barriers. They're big barriers. They're your livelihood. They're your job. Who controls all the creative hours of your day, and day after day? It's your employer. These are huge constraints, the work environment, all the institutions that control your life, whether it's education, the medical system, and so on, they completely confine you. You don't have a say in the protocols and the methods used. You don't. You're not. They limit you from even knowing that what they're recommending is useful or not.
So if you're not even aware that this is happening, your body knows, and you're still feeling the stress.
Absolutely. Directly. You don't have to have learned it at school. There's a physiological reaction to being oppressed in this way, and that's what. So, it's established now. Dozens of studies, including on mammals, monkeys, everything, populations, bird populations. Where you are in the dominance hierarchy determines, on average, the individual health and the longevity of the individual, depending on the class that they're in. And there's real physiological mechanisms for that. So that's what allows these hierarchies to survive. That's the biological underlying mechanism, if you like. And of course, the people who are making the hierarchy stronger benefit greatly from it, and they climb that hierarchy as they're able to. Well, we're talking about corporate fascism, and what I'm basically saying is that corporate fascism is something that is inevitable and advances always, and historically, the only way to oppose that is the individual. And therefore, the individual must be attacked by the system and must be made weak and not powerful. So there's most of the institutions of control are attacking the individual's capacity to be fully emancipated and fully an individual that is able to oppose this hierarchical control of their entire lives. That's what it's about. So the big battle is between individual creativity, the individual trying to be themselves, fully alive, fully develop, and so on the one hand, and these huge institutions that are controlling individuals for the benefit of the few at the top. That's the battleground that we're talking about.
Thank you very much. This was incredibly insightful. Thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure, Julia.
I'll be sure to link his work in the description, so I highly recommend you check it out, and obviously share with anybody you think is interested in anything that we mentioned. Thank you.
I ran afraid of shadows over me. Slowly they would get under my skin. I ran afraid die in a big mean world. Hot summers and a winter